What's crack-a-lackin', everybody? My name is Beckett.
My name is Alex.
My name is Kage.
And welcome back to episode 10-ish of the Back on Track podcast.
But yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, probably a little more low-key. We don't have really anything like set out in stone, like no segments or anything. We're just going to basically talk about the future, why we believe what we believe, and stuff like that. I think I'm just going to start off with our mission statement, which is to share conservative ideas that inspire young Americans to fight for freedom in order to preserve our God-given rights.
Yeah. It was, a couple months ago when we were like trying to figure out like what our mission actually was. So we took some time, and I think that doing that, it would be made a lot easier if we have, a bigger platform like video.
Yeah.
So people can, hold on for longer, focus for longer, as we were talking about last episode, stuff like that.
Yeah, we really are pushing for video. We're trying to get as much money as we can so we're able to provide you with that content. It would be a lot easier for us to put more sources in there, videos and stuff to get intertwined with our podcast that we'd be able to show you guys so that you don't have to just take our word for it, that we can show you physically.
Yeah.
And that would be more entertaining. We want to use YouTube way more in the future.
Well, right. It's that, and not only just for the podcast episodes, but like extra content, like maybe like we go out and do random interviews on the streets because we will have video coming to do that.
And we have a lot of ideas for videos on YouTube, but we would like to have our video for the podcast be first,
right,
and be able to produce that content, and then also have those other little clips and stuff of like throughout the week or whatever.
Yeah. And we'd love to even introduce like more segments, like fun things that we can do. We'd love to start live streaming at some point. Like,
I would love to live stream like events. Like,
and
just basically be able to
like
talk
Joe
about stuff
Biden's
while it's happening.
23-minute speech.
Yeah, you would think it would be like an hour or something, but it wasn't. But we really are pushing to have video and use that a lot in the future. I really see that helping us a lot.
And not we've been we spent the past couple minutes talking about video, but not only that, but like social media, right? Because remember, we have Twitter now, we're on Instagram, Facebook, all those areas, and we're really just trying to build our audience so that we can share those ideas that are going to help us protect our God-given rights.
Yeah.
So if you're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, TikTok, I guess, share it with friends and family if you find our content, helpful and informative.
Yeah, and if you know any other young conservative people or who are outspoken about it, please send it to them and just try to give their thoughts or opinions on that. It really helps us out a lot, and we want to grow a lot of audience. We want to grow our audience organically, but we also want to try to focus a little bit on the next generation of conservatives, because it doesn't seem like there's a lot, but I think there are a lot more than what the media and social media is putting out about.
Right. And I think if we don't do what we feel like we have to do, we're almost just letting it slide by. Okay, if this generation is kind of weak on the conservative front, then I feel like that's on us if we don't.
Yeah, we want to lead the charge. We want to be able to be hey, this is what we believe. This is why we believe it. I know a lot of people in our generation do not agree with us whatsoever.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I kind of like the criticism.
The criticism, it makes the victory seem sweeter.
Right, because it's you get a hate email or hate comment on Instagram. It's
20.
It doesn't even bother me. I actually I kind of laugh at it now, and I think that definitely surprised me.
Yeah.
Because starting this out, I definitely expected stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think what surprised me the most was definitely the more extreme, how extreme some people can be. Really surprised
comment commies.
Yes, comment commies, as we like to put them.
And if we could say one thing to those people, because obviously they listened, they tuned in to a small podcast and just decided to rip into it. I mean, I would just say we're not trying to offend people. We're not trying to necessarily even change your minds. We're not that that's a bad thing if we present ideas and we present facts that change your opinions about things, but we're just trying to demonstrate a conversation about the things we believe and show how that a healthy conversation, how that's not a thing that you see a lot in America these days.
Yeah. And I would argue, you said that we're not trying to offend people. I would say we are not offending people. If you feel offended by this, I would say that that's a you problem.
Yeah.
And that you can't handle facts.
There's not a lot of things that we say that is like overguardingly like offensive, because like it's not super wrong. You know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff we say is like very accurate, and we just like see it as it is, but you taking offense to what we have to say is how you perceived what we had to say.
Right. And that's not saying like you can't like reach out to us and say, I disagree with you. Like
and
let's
tell us
talk
why
about
like you made like we made you like feel a certain way or something. Like please like reach out and like why that happened. We would love to email you back, because we email and talk back to all the people that like talk to us.
One of our segments is answering your questions. Like that's not just for people who agree and like want us to talk about something specific. If you disagree or have a question about something that we've talked about, or you know, if you have a comment answering your questions, you can have a comment that's like, we disagree with that, and we'll answer that on.
Listen, it's more content for us to respond to. It's perfect.
Yeah, and for us, we've talked about how like we think the unity part of like the Biden administration like really isn't real. We believe in like trying to kind of like have some common ground with like the other side a little bit. And so even though you don't agree with us, we would like to know what you do agree with us on and why you disagree with us on certain things.
Right.
We really just want to open up the door. We even want to have like some debates and stuff in the future for when we have enough equipment and stuff.
Actually, I don't know how we left that out. Guests, hosting guests is something that we would like to do.
We would love to.
Obviously,
that would be so
our
much
current
fun.
equipment, it doesn't support that.
Yeah.
But our brand new, beautiful looking studio sure would.
Yeah, and it would help them be able to also build up what they're trying to build.
Right.
Because if they come on ours and we already have like our own like audience, our own like stuff happening, and some person that's just like maybe local or something wants to come in and try to debate us, and you agree with them on what they have to say, then that grows their audience, and it's a win-win no matter what. You get discussion, you get debate on like topics and issues, you get to hear both sides, and then you get to see like what happens, and it gives them a platform to say it on.
Right. Also, it's kind of the exact opposite of mainstream media. On mainstream media, you don't get to decide for yourself because they've already made the decision for you. What we're going for is, okay, you can see our side, you can see the other side, and come to your own conclusion based on what you've heard. And I think that's what we really want.
Yeah, we just really want to be able to be ourselves and have an opportunity to speak our minds and be able to find other people who agree with us. We want to be able to find other people that also have the same beliefs as us and try to inform some people that don't know anything about conservative ideology or like politics and stuff, because they aren't seeing it anywhere else on the mainstream media.
And actually, I know Beckett wanted to go, but before you do, I would say that our generation is very undereducated on the politics front. Like, there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, I don't get into politics." Well, I think that it's trying to avoid conflict to a point where you just don't stand for anything. If you don't stand for anything, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
Right? So by saying, "Oh, I'm not interested in politics," well, what do you stand for? Or what are you like willing to fight for?
And I think that mostly is because of the mainstream media just showing like the extremes of both sides.
Right.
And so a lot of times people will think like the extremes of both sides is just how both sides are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say even like you don't have to be into politics, but you need to be into our country and what's going on.
You need to be informed.
Right. Right. If you're voting, you definitely need to know a lot about politics, but you don't have to know about all of these. Just living your normal life. You don't have to know about every single event, be an expert on it, right. But you need to know what's going on.
You don't have to start a podcast.
Right.
But you gotta, know what's going on.
Because it's dangerous not to know what's going on.
Ignorance is dangerous.
Right.
Yeah. And ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Well, I would just say just because that before I really got into the realm of getting super into politics, I would say that ignorance is bliss, because I wouldn't know a whole bunch of the corruption and everything happening in the government. If you are ignorant to it, you won't see the corruption because they don't want you to see it. They're covering up as much as they can.
And that's not a Democrat thing. That's an politician thing.
That's everyone, both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah. So I think we kind of outlined what we see for the future of the podcast. We did have one question that someone asked that we wanted to answer while we were here.
Yeah. So we do have one question, and so let's hear that intro music.
We're answering your questions.
All right, so one question that we've been getting a lot is like, what do we think about trans men or trans women?
It's trans women.
Trans women, so people who were male and transitioned to female, participating in women's sports. And we've talked about it a little bit, but we just want to go a little bit more in depth on like the specific issue.
Yeah. Beckett, you can start us off. We haven't talked as much.
Yeah, so when thinking about this is all going to be opinionated. A lot of our opinions, I would say most, are like based on facts that we know, but like we're not going to be like posting sources for this part.
Right, it's not hard data.
It's just open discussion.
It's also like a little bit based on like our biblical beliefs.
Yeah, biblical and Christianity and just what we believe. So I believe that transgender is wrong. I believe that act in itself is wrong. I believe what you're born as is what you are. You don't get a choice. That's not your choice to make.
Right.
You were born as what you are, and you will always be that. I believe that in the sports, men and women are separated in specific sports for a reason. On average, men are bigger than women. On average, men are stronger than women. That's not trying to be offensive. That is just fact. The average male height is taller than the average women's height. That's just a fact. Now, when a man transitions to a woman through the transgender act, they do not shrink. They do not lose their strength very quickly. And so when an MMA fighter decides to now compete in women's MMA fighting, it
starts breaking
skulls.
It's very dangerous.
It becomes a different story, right? Because, I mean, when you're competing against the same level of strength, like you get knocked out, and that's pretty dangerous.
Right.
But like they take precautions in that sport for a reason.
Yeah,
but
like,
breaking skulls is completely different.
That's like divisions. Like someone like wrestling. I don't know a lot about wrestling.
No, there was someone who won like their state wrestling championship as a
what I'm saying is there's
person.
Divisions,
Yeah.
weight classes.
Yeah.
You don't put a
featherweight against a
300-pound man
champion.
right against like 150-pound like little pipsqueak because he'll kill him, right?
Yeah.
So I think that pitting men who are pretending to be women against actual women and then watching them literally break skulls.
Yeah, that's dangerous not only to the people participating but to the sport itself.
Right. And then and again, this is not against women or anything, because there are MMA fighters that would destroy all three of us and just and just a stare.
It's very true.
But go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, you were saying that you think the act of being trans is wrong, and I agree with that. But I think I know we've talked about this, so I already knew how you felt on it.
Right.
I believe that while it is wrong, we're still called to love them and to just treat them as humans, because that's what they are.
No, like for example, like I would totally like be respectful to them. Like if I knew someone personally, I would be respectful to them. I would basically just try to be as polite as possible. I wouldn't look at them as anything less than a human being.
Right.
And I think that that's very important for like anyone in general. You don't look at them as any less than you, because I would say like you almost look at yourself as like less than other people, because I'm a very like giving person. I like to put others first.
Right.
And that's what I would do for them. I wouldn't look at them any differently. I would just try to love them as best as I can.
And I think I see that as the same thing as I see it as sin, and I see sin as sin.
Yeah.
And we don't hold people to their sins if they ask for forgiveness.
Right.
We still love them.
And I think on top of it, though, the problem is that the left likes to play games play games with this, right? So if you disagree with trans women playing in women's sports, then you're transphobic now. Or if you're a what is it now, cis male?
Yeah,
if you're a straight male and you would not date a trans woman, then you're transphobic. It's like, no, I don't want to date a woman with a penis. Sorry.
It's just so hypocritical, and it's really funny how like the left really they're the people that call for unity a lot, right? But they also are the ones that put the most labels on things.
Yeah. Right.
And I really just don't think that there needs to be like that many like labels, and like being able to like come at like conservatives like us and call us all these things that we aren't, just because we believe a certain way or we have preferences. Like everyone is like able to have preferences. I don't know why we have to explain this to people.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that kind of like reminds me of like them just wanting to take away our beliefs.
Yeah, they want to take away what we believe in. They don't like it. They don't like us being able to think for ourselves.
They're fine with every other standpoint until it opposes theirs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, sorry. Yeah, there are not contradicting beliefs, but beliefs that they don't believe in, but can still run parallel.
Well,
and not,
see, it's like racism to them. Like they claim to be like super anti-racist, but then you look and they're making college dorm rooms where only black people can attend, or gyms where only black people can attend. That's racist in itself.
Which is segregation.
So I think it's going back to our last episode. We were talking about the left's hypocrisy, and I think it's exemplified in a lot of the things they say, especially in the the transgender sports arena.
Yeah, and
if you will.
I don't know. That's the last point that I want to make is like, if women and men competed against each other, there wouldn't be men and women sports. It would just be sports, and that's all it would be. But it would be dominated by men. Yeah,
or men pretending to be females.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then there'd be a lot. Listen, I think, like you were saying, this is dangerous. So I feel like at some point we're going to start to see, in tougher sports like wrestling, boxing, if you start to see more and more men posing as females, you're going to start to see more females getting seriously injured and possibly even killed.
And definitely like at the high school level, you'll see more, I would say you'll see more women that play like sports in high school come out and like be against this because it's hurting their chances at scholarships, earning money, and like being able to play at their college that they want to go to. Yeah.
And you won't see when both groups really push themselves, if they decide to just make it sports, right?
Can you imagine?
And both groups push themselves like to their limit, just working how professional athletes would work, you're gonna see the male class like obviously dominate in that area.
Yeah.
And the majority and all of the contact sports, all 100%. There will never be like any exception. It will be 100% of the contact sports. It will be male dominated. Yeah. Some of the non-contact sports, I'd say every once in a while, but it's not. That's not fair.
Cooking, according to Burger King.
Jeez.
Well,
sorry,
like,
it's not
a nice little callback, I guess.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be right. It just wouldn't. I don't know. It's just hard to think about. I know this is opinionated, but it's just it just feels wrong.
It's hard to see it, like especially like how much danger it is to like the other woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that really answered that question. We really appreciate you guys putting the questions in.
If you have a follow up to that question, whoever asked that question, if you didn't feel like your question was answered, then you can make it more specific if you want and help us better understand your question.
Yeah. Remember, we made a beautiful email just so you could reach out to us, and it is info@backontrack.com.
Absolutely.
You can also reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, all those messaging platforms.
Twitter now.
Twitter too, yeah. If you're one of our 5 followers.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're going to wrap it up there.
Yeah.
But that was basically what we wanted to say as far as like where we see the future in the question that got asked.
Yeah. So remember, Tuesdays, 10 a.m., that's when we release all of our episodes.
Yes, all of them.
We are working on more content to bring you. We are working on video. We are working on all these things. Remember, if you want to donate.backontrack.com.
Yes, please. We really want video. We have a lot for the future. We have a lot in tune for you. We have a lot prepared. We're going to make something big.
Yeah. All right. So this has been the Back on Track podcast, and we are now
signing off.